Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for coming.
Hello, thank you for being our sole audience member for today.
Okay, so this is our presentation. This is music therapy for children with special needs. I am Alexandra Pearce.
And I'm Kara Rowe, and we are seniors at SAM studying music therapy.
Yes. Okay. So the first question we need to ask is, what is music therapy? So, according to the American Music Therapy Association, which is the organization that a lot of the music therapists are a part of, music therapy is a clinical and evidence-based use of musical interventions to accomplish individualized goals within a therapeutic relationship by a credentialed professional who has completed an approved music therapy program. So put that in layman's terms, basically that means that we use music to accomplish non-musical goals. And also that to be a music therapist, you need to be a MT-BC, which means that you have to go to a university that has an accredited program for music therapy and then get board certified. So what exactly do music therapists do? Music therapists use music to address physical, communication, cognitive, social, and emotional goals. So we use music as a tool to accomplish these goals, like in the AMTA statement. So where can you find music therapy services? Basically, anywhere you want to. So you can find it in schools, private practices, hospitals, rehabilitation facilities, retirement facilities, substance abuse facilities, anywhere really. Anywhere that people who would need any therapy, we are perfect for that job. So what clients do music therapy work with? So basically, anyone. So we can have people with medical needs such as stroke, traumatic brain injuries, or aphasia. Aphasia is basically the inability to express or receive speech. So you can't speak or you can't understand speech. People with psychological needs such as depression, anxiety, schizophrenia, basically anything that you find in the DSM, we can help with that. People who need hospice care. So we are with people from the moment they're in the NICU, for their first moments of life, to people at the end of their life. And also with hospice care, we don't just work with the person who's getting hospice care, but also the family, because that is a really tough time for everyone that's involved. We also work with people who have academic and developmental needs. So that could be our special needs friends. That could be just children who learn better with music, which is not everyone, honestly. And also, another wonderful way that music helps is music therapy motivates you to exercise and gives you, and helps time pass better. So people who need to exercise, they'll be more willing to do it, and they'll be doing it better throughout their exercise. Okay, and so, can you go back to the last slide?
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry. So why does music therapy work? So music therapy taps into all parts of our brain. So there are, as we all know, parts of your brain that are specific. So on the left hemisphere, towards the back middle, we have the area for speech. So say you have a stroke in that area and you're no longer able to express or receive speech, music therapy would be perfect for you, because music therapy can use neuroplasticity, which is just basically forming new neural connections in your brain to help you understand and express speech better. Music increases dopamine production in our brains. So as we all know, dopamine is one of the pleasure neurotransmitters, or motivation transmitter. That dopamine, low dopamine levels are linked with Parkinson's patients and ADHD patients. So low dopamine is linked with poor attention skills, memory, and self-control. So if we can increase that dopamine, we can counteract these effects of low dopamine. So we can enhance learning and focus, we can promote well-being, we can improve mood, we can improve so much with just the dopamine production. Music is a non-threatening outlet. So if you ever had a really tough day and someone's asking you what's wrong and you can't express it, there's no words to express your emotions, but you turn on a piece of music and you feel like that music exactly expressed that. that is a perfect example of how music is a non-threatening outlet. Music helps us express our inner feelings the way words can't. Music provides structure to our brains that they can easily latch onto. Our brains love patterns, and music is full of patterns. Rhythmic patterns, form, melodic phrasing, everything like that. And this is especially helpful to our friends with autism and ADHD because they really need structure for their brains. So the structure promotes relaxation, self-regulation, reduction of hyperactivity, and also music is an easy way to accept change, where change may be difficult for someone who has autism. They may be overstimulated, but music is a really easy way to get them used to change. And it also improves attention for the people with attention deficit disorder or anything like that. And the last one is music, specifically rhythm, can activate our spinal cords to entrain to the rhythm. So like with our stroke patient before, sometimes when we have a stroke, it doesn't just affect our brains, it affects our whole bodies. So we can have weakness on one side. And with a specific technique called RAS, rhythmic auditory stimulation, we can use music and the rhythm in it to entrain our bodies to walk in a more normal fashion with a better cadence, better gait, everything like that. So what happens is the music primes our auditory cortex, or auditory and motor pathways. It cues the movement period, so not just the beats, but the space in between the beats. It teaches our spinal cord and our brain how much time you have to pick up your foot for the next spot. So rhythm is so interlocked into our bodies and our brains that music is just a wonderful connection of those two. Okay, so back to special needs. How do special needs people usually get services? So if you know anybody who has special needs, they might have an IEP with their school. So an IEP stands for an individualized education program. So what happens is the child has been evaluated by the school. The school determines if that child is eligible for services. If they are, an IEP team is created and the parents and child are fully involved. So what conditions exactly qualify you for this IEP? So you, to have an IEP, you need to have one of the disorders on this list, plus you need to have accommodations to succeed at school. So many people have autism spectrum disorder and they're perfectly fine at school, so they may not need an IEP. So these specific learning disabilities could be dyslexia, autism spectrum disorder, emotional disturbance, speech and language impairment, visual impairment, deafness, hearing impairment, deaf blindness, which is both deafness and blindness, orthopedic impairment, which could be cerebral palsy. So there's nothing cognitively off, it's just that the body doesn't work correctly. Intellectual disabilities, brain injuries, multiple disabilities, so someone can have many of these together, and other health impairments, which is basically ADHD, but they just like to put it in its whole other category. All right.
So, the idea of an IEP is to give a student as many resources as possible to get the education that they need. And so in the public school system, they have the right to the least restrictive environment for education. So the IEP team works on that for them. So music therapy is considered a related service under an IEP, and so they work with the team of people such as a special education teacher, paraprofessionals, the parents, administrators, and other therapists such as speech and language therapists and physical therapists, occupational therapists, and any other kind of other related service that they might have. Music therapists often co-teach and co-treat. So when they are co-teaching, they are working with sometimes general education teachers and sometimes music education teachers. And I'll come back to that in just a moment. But when they're co-treating with other professionals, they work on collaboration, so that they share ideas to reach the goals. If another person is stuck on a certain goal, the music therapy might be able to help further that progress for the student. They also share information that they find out when they are working with the student, and they cooperate to find meaningful communication about the needs. So they can also communicate those things to the parents if they have concerns about what's going on, and kind of explain how the treatment is working. And then they also help to plan and facilitate useful strategies for the students and find that best way to reach that goal for the student. And they can also do consultation with other professionals. So something to talk about for co-teaching is the importance of inclusion in today's educational trends. And this is because half of students with disabilities are educated in regular classrooms for at least 80% of the day. So they are in classrooms with typically functioning students for most of the day, often, and they get taught by those general education teachers. But sometimes this also means that they're in the music class. So this music therapists work with those teachers on adaptations for the environment, information, facilitation, and the materials. So some strategies that they can use to help that student with those educational goals are to vary student participation, frequency, and style, and vary the difficulty of the task. So you can make something more simple for them to complete successfully. You can also give them more time if they are able to do it at the typical difficulty level, but they just need more time to complete it because of whatever their diagnosis is. You can adapt the number of times that they're expected to complete a task. So they might do the same task but just less frequently, and you can vary the outcomes and expectations. So a lot of times you'll have groups in music therapy or in an inclusive setting for music, and so what happens is you can have lots of different goals going on for different students, but you have them work in the same task, just doing it a different way to achieve a different goal. And then for the typically functioning students, those goals could mean that they are learning some things about social understanding and learning how to work with people that are different from them. They could also learn leadership opportunities and just other social skills. They can benefit from the same things, just like the special education students. You can also adapt the curriculum, and so instead of teaching something abstract or advanced, you can teach a different concept that's important to those students. And it might be something like an occupational skill or just a daily skill that needs to be worked on versus something more difficult that would just be less attainable for them at that point in their education. Also, you manipulate the environment so that you can reach the students the best. So a lot of times in music therapy, we love to work in circles, and we have everybody just sit next to each other, kind of close, so they're not scattered around the room, and they feel like they're really engaged in something that is together in a safe space. And so the proximity of that helps, and then you vary your proximity based on the needs of the students, so that if they're being less attentive, you can move towards them and just let them know that they're still part of the group without singling them out too much, because you don't want to make them feel bad. And another thing about that is you can mix them in with the typically functioning students, and that helps them to provide student support to their peers, and that can go either way. So the most common goal areas that music therapists say that they work on if they're on an IEP are communication, social, and behavioral goals. So for communication, there is a broad term for different ways of communicating that are not always the typical verbal and just conversations. So they're called alternative and augmented communication systems. So the first ones are picture exchange communication systems. They're called PECs, and picture schedules. And those can be used to keep structure based on a picture versus a conversation about a list of things. And also They help you to be aware of the next task so that you can anticipate what's coming up, and you can also recap the session to find out what was already done and what they worked hard on to kind of validate their work. You can also use technology to communicate, and a lot of times we use things like buttons and adapted systems so that it can be a one-word phrase or something that they want to communicate to you at a given time. Also, we use things like iPads, apps to help create buttons like that, and sometimes have more of a variety of options, and it's a little more accessible. But I will differentiate, we're not just putting an iPad in front of a student to help the music therapy. It is a tool that can be used for that communication specifically. We also can use visual cueing, and so giving them different options on our hands, as well as moving in and letting them know that you're still talking to them when it's their turn, and just using your body to kind of help them understand what's going on. Something else that is used outside of music therapy, and all of these listed above are outside of music therapy as well, but is applied behavioral analysis. And so the definition of that is it's a therapy that focuses on improving specific behaviors such as social skills, communication, reading, and academics, as well as adaptive learning skills like fine motor dexterity, hygiene, grooming, and domestic capabilities, punctuality, and job competence. So really giving them the tools that they need after their education. ABA helps students with especially autism spectrum disorder, and it helps them improve their social interactions, helps them learn new skills, maintain positive behaviors, and then it also helps transfer skills from one behavior to another, controlling situations where negative behaviors arise and minimizing negative behaviors. And then a child will practice this for about 20 hours a week, and they should generally start around age 3 or 4 and really learn those skills at an early age so that they are addressed right away and ingrained into their development. And then also, in ABA, you address the behavior directly. So it's very clear what the goal is for them to them, and you use a lot of materials that are designed specifically for that client, for that task. And reinforcement is so important in ABA because it's so repetitive, so just letting them know that they worked really hard and you understand that they did what they were told to do and that they did it well, and that it's just so important to reinforce that. So musical cueing can be used in music therapy to kind of cue something that you're working on. So let's say you have a client who's less verbal and you want them to complete a phrase for you. So, you are my sunshine, good, my only sunshine, thank you, that's right. Or this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, that's right. So that's musical cueing, and that can be used with verbally, or it could also be with some type of instrument playing too. So some other techniques that we just wanted to list were SciComm, which is symbolic communication through music. So you use a very structured approach to it, and you find alternate ways of communicating besides verbally. And then DSLM is developmental stimulation of language through training through music. And that is the specific use of developmentally appropriate musical materials and experiences to enhance speech and language development through singing, chanting, playing musical instruments, and combining music, speech, and movement. So that's a lot. And then there's New STEM, which is often used with aphasia because of the way that it works. But you use musical materials such as songs and rhymes and chants to stimulate prosodic speech gestures, to simulating prosodic speech gestures to stimulate non-propositional speech. So it helps you to place words if you can't get them out, specifically in aphasia usually. And this is, well, I'll talk about this after you see it. This is a music therapist. So he's using musical cueing to let the client know that it's his turn to respond, and that's what he wants. And also he has to listen to the message that's asked to him through the phrase that he sings before he stops. He's also using a different method of communication by having that button in front of him, and he has the choice of yes or no. Hello, you can take a seat, just over here. Okay. And then there's another example.
Over the trumpets, I will try over
So he also used musical cueing to let the student know that it was his time to respond, as well as he was teaching an educational concept of how he was supposed to hit the drum. He said, over the drum, and that's what the client said. And he responded both musically and verbally to the music therapist, and then he reinforced it by continuing the music and telling him nice. Usually we reinforce a little bit more specifically, but the task is very clear, so nice worked for him. So music therapy for social goals is, very broad, because, social goals are just so complex and so unique to the person. So a lot of times for students, especially with autism spectrum disorder, use social stories, and that goes with outside of music therapy as well. But social stories are basically an abstract concept like a social interaction put onto paper as a story so that it makes it a little bit more concrete. So we're going to play a video of the same music therapist, and he'll explain why he created the social story that he did, and then you'll get to see how he put it to music.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Rhythm Tree. My name is Ryan Judd. I'm a board-certified music therapist, here to give you some more great ideas on how to use music to help children with special needs. So today I'm going to show you a social story that I created for one of my clients. Social stories are great for kids with autism, Williams syndrome, so many other special needs. When you want to teach a child social skills, a social story should definitely be part of your strategy. And social stories are great, but what I do is take it to the next level by adding music, and then I make it even more captivating and engaging by using an iPad app, a free one called Story Creator, where you can put in pictures, audio, video. It's really cool. You'll see what I mean in a second. So this social story was to help one of my clients with learning how to interact and talk with friends and peers. So a couple of the words and the jargon that I use in this social story are some of the concepts he's working on at school, which is talk time, which basically means, give your friends a chance to talk too. Don't just dominate the conversation by talking the whole time. Really about listening and asking questions as well as talking. Bubble space, personal space, not getting too close to someone's face, not touching people in inappropriate ways when they don't want to be touched. Things like that. It's a concept of bubble space. Whole body listening. Yes, we're listening with our ears, but we're also listening with our eyes. We want to look at the person we're talking to, and also have our body situated in front of them. We're not squirming around and all that. So those are a couple of concepts I incorporated into this social story. I hope you like it. Please sign up for my newsletter if you haven't yet. I've got a link right below. Come check out my website at therhythmtree.com.
Gotta get the
Hey,
word
if you're
out.
on YouTube checking this out, please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. I love reading your comments. It keeps me going. It keeps me inspired to keep going with this labor of love video blog that I've got going on here. All right, take care. I'll see you next time. Thank you. When I'm in school, I will see my friends, and I will want to talk to them. It might be their turn, it might be mine. Everyone gets talked listen with my eyes and my ears. I'll try to use my whole body to listen to my peers.
So that was designed specifically for an individual that was working on those. Something else we do sometimes is musical theater productions that are inclusive and they can teach musical skills like instruments as well as social skills. Musical conversations can be used, so nonverbal, just using the music for call and response. And then interventions for healthy competition. So you're setting them up to work on a team or maybe individually, and if they have issues with things not going their way and maybe having tantrums, you provide a space for them to actually have the possibility of not winning and learn how to deal with that appropriately and how to be a good sport. And then if they do win, learning how to be humble about it. So that's the competition aspect. Music can be used as an incompatible behavior, so instead of shouting when I'm upset, I can sing to myself, or instead of hitting somebody, I can play an instrument. So if you give a student something like that to do, they are less likely to have those undesired behaviors in a session. You can have interventions designed for sharing, and you can also have direct education of appropriate behaviors. So, for example, if you have a client that maybe does touch people too often or greets by only hugging or something, you can say, we're going to give a high five, and that's part of your intervention, and it's really direct. Like, this is what we're doing. We're high-fiving as a greeting. So, also, just to have inclusive interventions, any of them can be used that way, but the students can teach and assist each other, so that provides opportunity to learn too. Okay, so music therapy for behavioral management is also really wide. We talked about the incompatible behavior, or incompatible activities with undesired behaviors. And then something really important is music can be used contingently to reward appropriate behaviors. So you use the music or continuing the session as a way to say thank you for your work, or give them free time to improvise at the end as a way to celebrate that work and just have fun. And learning a musical skill can require prerequisites, such as sitting still and holding an instrument and not playing out of turn, manipulating the instrument in different ways, like shaking or hitting, so that you can just think more creatively and try to express yourself in a different way. And then also reading music, and all of these things motivate continued engagement in the session. Music can induce a positive mood or calm hyperactive behavior, so we have relaxation techniques in music therapy. And then it can be used to facilitate emotional expression and appropriate communication of feelings. It can also be used to improve attention skills. So if you're working on a task for a certain amount of time, that can improve sustained attention. Otherwise, you can have different things going on at a time, and they have to stay focused on what they're doing, or pay attention if it's not their turn for when it is their turn. Okay, so here's a list of some emotional behavioral disorders that can be worked on in the school system. And so, some of the externalized symptoms of those that you might address would be aggression, arguing, physical dominance, stealing, lying, cheating, maybe arson in an extreme situation. Lack of self-control is really important, and tantrum. And then some internalized symptoms that you might find in a student that you want to address could be isolation, frequent crying, low verbal engagement and communication, decreased interest, sleep issues, little affect, so their face looks serious all the time and they're not really expressing things, and then feeling of worthlessness, or if they're often teased or left out, you might want to address that. Can you go back one? Sure. Wait. Oh, okay, so I found the place. So other things, so music is quick, efficient, and non-invasive for changing like hyperactive or inappropriate behaviors. So you just do it without really making a big deal out of it. practice songwriting to kind of address those things directly through the words that we use if they're high level of cognitive functioning, and then you can use music-assisted relaxation like I talked about before. Also, it's important to know when to ignore unwanted behaviors versus saying, can you please stop hitting that person, because they might just keep doing it because they got their attention if they're actually seeking attention. So, that's that. We have an intervention demonstration right now that can be used for clients who have difficulties with attention maintenance, and then also knowing when it's their turn and when it's not. So kind of maybe off-task behaviors. I've seen it where clients just are less engaged in the session because of their level of cognitive functioning. So this can be used in this way. And then I'll explain the musical elements that were used afterwards that you'll see. Hi, Allie. Hi. Thanks for coming to music today. So this is a tambourine, and you can hit it like this. Good. Or you can tap it with one finger, and you can scratch it. But when it's not your turn, you put your hands in your lap. Good. Nice and in your lap. Okay, so just listen to this song, and I'll tell you what to do. So I'll stop. I take a turn, and Alex takes a turn, and we both take a turn together. I take a turn, and Allie takes a turn, and then we stop. Good, I love the way you put your hands in your lap when it wasn't your turn. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go really fast, so make sure you're listening. So, I take a turn, and Allie takes a turn, and we both take a turn together. I take a turn, and Allie takes a turn, and I take a turn, and Allie takes a turn, and Allie takes another turn, and I take another turn, and then we stop. Nice and quick, Allie. Looks good. I love the way you put your hands down, and we're watching for when it was your turn. Okay, one more time. Listen carefully. I take a turn, and Allie take a turn, and I take a turn, and Allie takes a turn, and we both take a turn together. I take a turn, and Allie takes a turn, and then we stop. Good! I love the way you listen, and you were really attentive to how we were playing. Looks good. So, that was that intervention, and it can be used in a group too, so that if you're traveling around the room with like a bigger drum, they have to really be paying attention for when it's their turn. Also, you can use grounding so that everyone can tap a beat so that they're still engaged in the intervention, but it also just provides that structure that it's all one complete task. And you wouldn't stop as often if it was, well, you would stop on the stop cue, but wouldn't really talk in between. I was just reinforcing her. So you could see that the music cue told her, then we stop. And so that can be anticipated because it's repetitive. Also, I switched keys to help keep it interesting and re-engage that attention, and then switch to the method of playing to see if she would be attentive to that.
Okay, so in addition to our social, communication, and behavioral goals, we can also teach daily life activities. So what we usually use is task analysis, and that is a use of a mnemonic device to break down a task. So if someone is having trouble remembering the steps to brushing their teeth, or taking a shower, or putting on deodorant, or even if someone has some anxiety problems and they have to remember in their anxiety how to calm down, these mnemonic devices and these task analyses are really helpful. So we're going to show you another intervention.
Oh, you?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to sit?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So in this intervention, we're going to be using a musical technique called chaining. And this is a really helpful way to get people to learn a song. Okay. Hi, Kara. Hello. What's up?
Just hanging out at music therapy.
Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to learn how to put on deodorant. Are you excited?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so I'm going to sing a song first, and then I'm going to teach it to you. Okay? Putting on deodorant is easy and fun. Come on and sing with me. Take the deodorant and open the cap. Roll it up carefully. Turn the dial to the left. Put it under your arm. Now you swipe it up and down, and now you won't smell like a farm. Yeah?
Okay.
You like it? Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to teach it to you now. Okay. Putting on deodorant is easy and fun. Come on and sing with me.
Putting on deodorant is easy and fun. Come on and sing with me.
Awesome. Putting on deodorant is easy and fun. Come on and sing with me. Take the deodorant and open the cap. Roll it up carefully. Ready?
Putting on deodorant is easy and fun. Come on and sing with me. Take the deodorant, open the cap, roll it up carefully.
Perfect. Okay. Putting on deodorant is easy and fun. Come on and sing with me. Take the deodorant and open the cap. Roll it up carefully. Turn the dial to the left. Put it under your arm. Ready?
Putting on deodorant is easy and fun. Come on and sing with me. Take the deodorant and open the cap. Roll it up carefully. Turn the dial to the left and put it under your arm.
Perfect. That was wonderful. Okay. One more verse and then we're done. Okay. Putting on deodorant is easy and fun. Come on and sing with me. Take the deodorant and open the cap. Roll it up carefully. Turn the dial to the left. Put it under your arm. Now you swipe it up and down. And now you won't smell like a farm. Okay, ready?
Putting on deodorant is easy and fun. Come on and sing with me. Take the deodorant and open the cap. Roll it up carefully. Turn the dial to the left and put it under your arm. Swipe it up and down, and then you won't smell like a farm.
Perfect! Okay, do you want to show me what you've learned with this deodorant?
Okay.
Okay, we'll sing it together, okay?
Okay.
And you're going to show me the steps on the deodorant. Ready? Putting on deodorant is easy and fun. Come on and sing with me. Take the deodorant and open the cap. Roll it up carefully. Turn the dial to the left. Put it under your arm. Now you swipe it up and down. And now you won't smell like a farm. Perfect! That was wonderful. Okay. You did amazingly. Thank you so much. Okay, so this was a text analysis. So we broke down the steps into very easy to remember verses. So take it in your hand, open the cap, roll it up, put it under your arms. You're done. Perfect. Okay. And so, with all of these techniques, how can you get services? So in a school setting, like we stated before, on the IEP, music therapy is a related service. So what you can do is, after the initial assessment, the team can make a recommendation. And if you believe that your child or your loved one can benefit from music therapy, which everyone can, you can talk to the IEP team because you are a part of it. You and your child can advocate for yourselves that this is an important service. And so say you're not in a school setting. How else can you get these services? So out of a school setting, you can contact a music therapist from the AMTA website, or you can choose a facility that employs music therapists. So there's plenty of hospitals, rehabilitation centers, private practices all around that employ music therapy because it works. And if we keep going to them, they will keep on hiring our music therapists. So if you want to contact a music therapist in your area, you're going to go to this webpage. Perfect. And so what you're going to do is you're going to put your city in. So we can put in Huntsville, Texas, and city.
Oh, okay.
Yes, just Huntsville, Awesome. Oh,
I don't know anything about that.
I think that was just on the recommended
still?
from, yeah. So you're just gonna put in Huntsville, Texas, and that's basically all you have to do. Just put your area in, and then I would click MT-BC. So you're looking for music therapists that are board certified. Search, and now you have a list of music therapists that you can contact with their emails, with their websites, with their phone numbers. So you can get services just by going to this website that's totally free to everyone. Okay, and so this is our presentation, and I want to thank you guys so much for coming. Do you have any questions?
Earlier in the presentation, you talked about non-threatening ways of expression. What is an example of a threatening way of?
So I would say this is threatening. Why are you feeling sad? This
Asking why
is
can help them feel like they're wrong for
Right.
feeling that way.
right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, "Hey, do you want to write a song?" They're like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." And then you're like, "So, how are you feeling today?" And then they can just
Can you
express.
tell me more about that?
Right, exactly. Can just express through music, through chord progressions that aren't even language-based, how you feel.
We also use a technique called reflection, and that's a general therapy technique as well, where if Ali says to me, how are you feeling now?
Okay.
Okay, so you're feeling okay. Can you tell me more about that?
I'm a little hungry, but I'm feeling good.
So you're hungry?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm glad that you're good.
Yeah.
So you basically repeat things back to them without being too obvious about it so that it helps validate them, and also usually they'll just talk more about it without you asking, what about this? What about that? And they just don't want to be asked questions, but if you're just talking to them and reflecting, that usually helps them feel comfortable.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other questions for us? Okay, awesome.
Okay.
You guys have been educated. Wonderful.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We just have a short evaluation. Could you fill it out for us, please?
Yes,
Thank you.
it is super short. It's just one page. Awesome.
Okay, great.
Thank
Thank you. Bye.